and at his parish, at his family parish, St. Vincent de Paul in Peoria. And that courageous survivor has now filed a lawsuit this morning against the Diocese of Peoria by reason of the repeated sexual abuse of him by his family priest, beginning in 1997 and continuing to 2003. He, like most survivors, of course, suffered in fear, silence, and secrecy for years, but recently came forward with this truth and said to us, this is the hardest thing I've ever done, is sharing this secret. But I'm so alarmed about all the other kids. And what can I do? And we said, you can make it known, and you can file suit, and we will help you. And so we're here to make it known, to help him in the recovery of his power, and to reveal the peril that has persisted in the Diocese of Peoria for decades. The Catholic bishops in Peoria have engaged for over 50 years of a pattern and practice of concealing and refusing to reveal or address the problem of sexual abuse by clergy in the diocese. And in this complaint, we set forth in detail how serious, long-standing, and prominent the hazard in the Diocese of Peoria is. Since 1950, there have been 20 reports made to bishops of sexual abuse, largely ignored. And on this board, using the information from the investigation done by the Attorney General that identifies offenders, and using the list of offenders released now by the Diocese of Peoria under pressure from us, survivors, and the AG, we now reveal 53 different offenders who have been accused of childhood sexual abuse and largely concealed by the Catholic bishops in Peoria. Now, this courageous survivor that chooses to bring this suit, naming in this diocese and these bishops for these long-standing patterns and practices, his name is Michael Eckert. And here's a picture of Michael when he was then an altar boy and attending St. Vincent de Paul in Peoria, and where this offender, Father Miller, then the pastor, then the priest, then his teacher, then his priest, violated him repeatedly for years. And Michael, of course, suffered in secrecy, suffered in silence, and fear for so many years. He's no longer afraid. And he is freed by the truth, and we are honored by his courage in coming forward and using his name in this lawsuit. Why? To do something to protect other kids and expose the perils and the practices in the Diocese of Peoria. And in the Diocese of Peoria, it is Bishop Myers and Bishop Jenke that have time and time again ignored reports, ignored complaints and chosen to protect the reputation of the Diocese of Peoria and the priests like Father Miller, at the peril of Michael and so many other kids. I've been working with Marc Pearlman now for over 25 years, and Melissa Anderson. And in this time and time again, we have seen this diocese, the Diocese of Peoria, make choices. Choices to ignore a well-known hazard and to protect the priest, and when complaints are made, to take no action, and to hide behind the statute of limitations. Well, they can't hide any longer because this case is now brought within the statute of limitations. And they can't use it to hide the truth. And we're here armed with Michael's truth to share it. And in this complaint, we detail not only how they've handled this over the years, but recite how, for example, Bishop Myers, who was the bishop for 11 years, would handle reports that would come in. When Father Ingalls in his complaint was sexually abusing kids, he was going to put him back into ministry. And when the mom who complained about the report called him, he said, "I didn't realize that putting him back in ministry would upset you." We also recite that in 1991, Bishop Myers, after Father Samuel Pusateri was sentenced to prison for criminal sexual conduct of a child, was going to return the priest to ministry. And it was then that he told people he would restore him to ministry, and only after complaint was he not put back in. I took the deposition of Bishop Myers many years ago on behalf of a very courageous survivor, Andrew Ward, and he revealed to me and to us an indifference, an oblivion around how to conduct the affairs of the diocese, and he failed miserably to protect the kids for 11 years, and then Bishop Jenke followed. And when he did follow Myers, Jenke hired the chancellor to be an official, Patricia Gibson. And to this day, Patricia Gibson has been a part of the problem and has been the manager of the handling of these complaints. And I call that name out, and I call her out as the chancellor of this diocese and as his former lawyer, as a part of this problem. To Michael Eckert, deep gratitude for your courage, for giving us this chance to sound the alarm and to share this sorrowful and serious problem that persists in Peoria. The problem in Peoria is so grave as it's been handled by the bishops and Patricia Gibson now for the last 30 years plus, that when looked at in all of my experience in 42 years in representing survivors and against cases against the bishops across America, Peoria stands, in my view and in my experience, as one of the most dangerous, as one of the most perilous, and one of the most difficult places of all the Catholic bishops in America when it comes to handling of sexual abuse and the protection of children. I say that with great sorrow. I say that with great alarm. And time again, we have given them the chance to step up and do the right thing and get better and address survivors and bring healing and child protection, and time again. The Diocese of Peoria, the Catholic bishops there, have not only disappointed us, they've disappointed the community of faith. And it's time for us to stand on the shoulders of Michael Eckert and all the other courageous survivors who have come forward and say, no more. It's time for a reckoning. There is a well-known hazard in Peoria, and we're here to say and do something about it today. No more. Marc Pearlman, you've been working with me for 25 years and representing survivors across the state of Illinois. What say you today about this diocese and why we see this as such a perilous and grave problem?
Thank you, Jeff. First, I want to reiterate our gratitude to Michael Eckert and how brave he is for coming forward, and to allow and to tell other survivors like Michael that it is safe to come forward, that there is help out there, and that it is safe to come forward, and that you should go to the diocese when you come forward. You should go to law enforcement or support groups or attorneys, and that there is help. With respect to the diocese, their public relations department suggests through their statements that they care about sex abuse survivors. In fact, their actions suggest just the opposite. They show no compassion for survivors, and they engage in tactics of delay and avoidance.
And Melissa Anderson, you've been working with us and on behalf of Michael now, and not only helping him get help in processing the trauma that he's now had the courage to share with us. But what do you want to say about Michael and this journey that now we've become a part of, that he gives us a chance to reveal?
Well, I have so much gratitude for Michael because it's very clear to us that Michael's goal in filing this lawsuit is not only to bring healing to himself, but to shed light on the problem in Peoria, and also to be able to speak for those who have not yet come forward, and more importantly, those who have come forward.
We just got
and have been met by the and what's particularly concerning, and what's concerning to Michael, is his acknowledgement that when the Diocese of Peoria learns that somebody had been sexually abused by one of their priests, there's just a complete lack of curiosity on the part of the Diocese of Peoria in learning our clients and these survivors' stories, to see what they, without a complete understanding of the circumstances and how this happens, there's going to be no improvement, and children are going to continue to not be safe, and Michael's recognized that. And so he's doing this not just for himself, but for the other people who've come forward, and most importantly, for children today who are not safe because of the response that the Diocese of Peoria has given.
And to you, Michael, and the other survivors. First, there are people out there that because you couldn't tell as a kid, and didn't tell in your 20s until you got into your 30s, and then got some help, that won't believe you, that won't believe and don't believe that this Father Miller sexually abused you. Father Miller was defrocked. Father Miller was removed from the clerical state in 2006. So for anybody that thinks that Father Miller is innocent and wrongly and falsely accused, you're wrong. And you better start to believe the kids, and you better start to believe Michael. And for anybody that thinks that there isn't a grave problem in Peoria, also doesn't know. We do. And it's time for us to do what we can with survivors to expose the peril, the problem, the hazard, and the practice so prominent in the Diocese of Peoria. And to Michael Eckert and all the other survivors who have stood up and shared their secret. Know there can be help, and know that every time a survivor does come forward, other kids can and will be protected. And Michael, today, you need to know by giving us permission to be public and to share your story and this secret that you carried in pain and silence for years. Now others will be safer. And we, every day, for the rest of ours, will make sure we do something to protect the vulnerable and those in Peoria that needed you to stand with us today. Thank you, Michael, and to all the other survivors for your courage.